Now that we have created our box and crank assembly, let's go ahead and create the follower parts that we will place through the top of the box that will follow along the cam's edges. Let's go ahead and create a new part studio. And in here, we're going to create two different types of followers. So on the top plane, let's go ahead and create a sketch. So let's start with a couple of circles, one at the center at the origin here, and then one some distance away. So each of these will have a diameter of 3/16 of an inch. And then go ahead and drag one of them away just a little bit to give them some space. So now that we have these two circles, let's go ahead and extrude both of them to a height of 4 inches. So these are two separate followers, and the treatment that we're going to give them around the bottom is what's going to set them apart from one another. So let's go ahead and add a chamfer to one of them by clicking on the circular bottom. And for the chamfer distance, let's go ahead and give that 3/32. So that creates a pointed end, and this is a good follower to follow along the heart's edge path. That way it doesn't get stuck anywhere and can follow along a little more easily. Now let's add a fillet to the circular bottom of the other follower. Let's give that a 3/32 radius, and that creates a rounded effect. So for part 1, let's go ahead and rename that follower point. And for part 2, let's go ahead and rename that follower round. Another item that we might need as we go into our box is something that will ride between the follower and the cam potentially. So let's go ahead and create another sketch on this top plane. And let's give it a center point rectangle and dimension it with a width of 0.25 and a length of 0.5. And let's go ahead and extrude this to a height of 3/32. So this extra rectangular piece, we're going to go ahead and fillet both that front bottom edge and the back bottom edge by a radius of 0.25. And that way it becomes a piece that we might use to ride between the follower itself and the cam. Another item that we would need on this is something called a collar, and the collar is just going to keep things in place on the top of the box. So let's go ahead and add another sketch on the top plane, and I'm going to use that round, the circle for the follower, and I'm going to create another circle on the outside of it with a diameter of 0.5 inches. And so with that kind of donut shape, I'm going to go ahead and extrude just the donut, a height of 0.5 inches as well. And that needed to come in as a new part, so let's double click on extrude and change that to new. So that's a separate part, not attached to that follower. So for part 3, let's go ahead and rename that follower foot. And for part 4, let's rename that the collar. We'll also do a little bit of changing of some colors here. So both of these followers will have a slightly different appearance. We're going to give it kind of a brown look. There we go. That's a good look. So that's EAB97D. For the other two parts, the follower foot and the collar, let's make those a nice bright orange. So right up here, F88701. All right, so let's go ahead and rename this tab followers. That way we know what we're pulling in. And then let's go ahead and ultimately we will add these to the assembly, but we'll do that in the next video.